We're back with the 9 News Business Buzz. I'm Ryan Frazier, 9 News business expert and CEO of Frazier Global. While national economic headlines are filled with talk of slowdown and a government shutdown, our next guest says the picture here in Colorado might be telling a different story for now. To help us understand what's really happening, we're joined by Dr. Phyllis Resnick, lead economist at the Colorado Futures Center. Phyllis, how you doing?
I'm fine, Ryan. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining us. And now, Phyllis, I want to break down some of the numbers and I want to get your take on what you're seeing with the Colorado KUSA. Colorado unemployment is sitting at 4.2% as of August. National unemployment is sitting at 4.3% as of August. We don't have the most recent federal data due to the shutdown. However, ADP's private payroll report showed that U.S. private sector actually lost about 32,000 jobs last month. This continues a negative trend with the August numbers also being revised to show a loss. You believe, though, that Colorado is showing resilience despite the national headwinds. What are you seeing?
Well, as you know, Ryan, for covering our Colorado KUSA pretty regularly, in the springtime, I was a little more negative on the Colorado economy. I thought there was a chance that we might have finally hit the headwinds and would be facing some slower or even negative growth. However, the summer numbers came in quite a bit stronger than I anticipated, and I think a lot, at least for Colorado. We've seen retail sales turn around a little bit. We've seen DIA landings turn around. Quits rates, which you wouldn't necessarily think of as it's sort of a counterintuitive indicator, but if more people are quitting jobs, it sort of suggests that they're confident they're going to get another job. All of those have taken sort of modest turns for slightly stronger in Colorado. However, as you rightfully note, we have no jobs numbers for the month of September because of the shutdown, and some of the previous months could very well be revised lower when we resume those data. And as your viewers and you probably know, we are likely to see some additional headwinds from the end of the fiscal year on the number of federal employees who will find themselves finally off of deferred resignation payments from the federal government. And so it remains to be seen whether this strength we're seeing will continue into the fall and the early part of the winter.
Phyllis, I want to pick back up on that very interesting, as I see it, indicator, and that's the quit rates. Workers, according to LinkedIn's data, shows that the quit rate at which people voluntarily leave their job dropped 4% in September. Fewer people quitting suggests a cooler labor market as workers are less confident about finding a better job. But again, as you mentioned, your data shows that the rate here slightly ticked up. Now, many people would think a rising quits rate is a bad sign, but economists like you, Phyllis, think and see it differently. Can you explain a little bit more about why this could be actually a signal of strength and confidence in our state's labor market?
Sure. And you know, I need to be careful here because the amount it tipped up was very modest. And so it could very easily turn around next month as well. However, seeing that sort of reverse its trend gives us a little confidence because if you think about your own financial situation in your household, you're going to be less likely to walk away from a job that you feel fairly secure in if you don't think you can get another one. So when we see quits rates, this is, again, people who are voluntarily quitting, not people who are being, quote, asked to quit. When we see quits rates fall quite low, what that tells us is that people are nervous. They're staying in positions. They're not sort of moving and trying to find a better fit because they're feeling a little bit defensive about their household finances. When we see people more willing to voluntarily take the risk and leave a job and look for something else, it's typically an indication that they have slight more confidence in the labor market.
Now, you know, one of the key indicators, as you shared with us, was that passenger traffic at DIA. It showed traffic is a little bit stronger than anticipated this summer, reaching some of the highest levels we've seen all year. Why is airport traffic such a good indicator, and what does a strong summer travel season tell us about the health of Colorado's economy?
Sure. So I was pretty surprised to see the DIA traffic take the dip it took in the early part of this year, and it did start to make me a little bit nervous. As you know, we have many ski mountains and a very strong tourist economy in Colorado. So when we start to see those numbers coming through DIA fall, it can sometimes portend that those sectors which are so important to the economy are likely to hit some rougher times. But it did recover over the summer, which suggests that the summer tourist season probably will come in a little stronger than we expected. And, it's a little bit encouraging that we might be able to sustain that through the winter ski season. However, I need to be careful here because we're talking about sort of small magnitudes, like things are turning around and heading in the right direction, but it's, again, very modest. And I think it's in a place where while the Colorado economy has shown some resilience to the headwinds remain, and we need to be vigilant about watching.
Well, let's talk
what
about
happens
that,
month over
Phyllis.
month.
Let's talk about those headwinds, because I can sense the sensitivity in your answers. As you look at what's happening nationally and what's happening locally, what is the single biggest national risk you're watching that could threaten the resilience we're currently seeing here at home?
I think that, we could talk tariffs and we could talk many federal policies, but I think when you take it all together, what is probably weighing, perhaps, when you think of an individual household, is the uncertainty of all of it. And so, think about when you're thinking about, are we going to plan a travel vacation? Are we going to plan a ski trip? Are we going to buy that, make the commitment to that next large purchase? Or, when there's a lot of uncertainty about what's happening, people tend to stay stuck. And so while we could sort of decompose all of the different policies that are potential headwinds, and they're certainly there, I think taken together, that combined uncertainty is the probably single most, in my mind, composite headwind that is a risk to this sort of modest growth we're seeing continuing.
Yeah. Well, as we start to wrap up, Phyllis, I'll just say the point you mentioned earlier, I think we would be remiss if we didn't stress it, and that is the federal deferred resignation program, which ended on September 30th. We've yet to see how those numbers trickle out and impact our local economy, as we have a high concentration of federal employees here. So to be determined in terms of the impact there. But Phyllis, we got to run. I want to thank Phyllis Resnick of the Colorado Futures Center for your data-driven look at our state's economy. The bottom line is that for now, Colorado seems to be charting its own course, showing some resilience. The question remains, how long can we weather the national storm? As business keeps buzzing in Colorado, our goal is for you to stay informed, be engaged, and to get ahead of the game. For the 9 News Business Buzz, I'm Ryan Frazier.